It was about 3 o'clock in the morning, and I'm riding along. I have my Sony Walkman on. Yeah, it's 1985, so I got a cassette in it. I'm listening to my favorite music. I look down at the speed gauge on my bike and reading 90 miles an hour on the ice. And I'm thinking, this is why.
What is a numb bum? There's something about it that calls to you. It's both a badge of honor and a warning sign that you've made some questionable life choices. To really understand the numb bum, you have to go back to the beginning. A frozen lake, a crazy idea, and a group of people who thought this was a good way to spend a weekend.
We had just finished a 100-mile endurance race out at the dunes. Jerome and his wife Suzanne invited us over for barbecue. My wife Pam and I went. And we were kind of whining because, this was the last of the season, now we have to wait again and all that. She says, well, why wait?
Shortly after that, we had a Peace Country Motorcycle Association meeting. He went up to the chalkboard and he wrote on the chalkboard, 1 team, 3 riders, and 24 hours racing on the ice. And he said, we'll call it a numb bum.
And that's how it started.
I grew up in a little town, and that's probably where I'm gonna settle down.
So, first question, who here is this your first numb bum? Put up your hands. Put up your hands. Thanks for coming. Bring a friend next year.
Ralph and the Grande Prairie Motorcycle Association introduced the world's first 24-hour motorcycle endurance ice race. And where better to host such a daring event than Claremont, Alberta, a hamlet known for, well, having a lake. But not just any lake, but a perfect lake. Because if you're going to risk your life and limb for glory, you might as well do it on top of some really solid ice.
Somehow Tamarama came up in the conversation, and I said, well, why don't we run concurrently with Tamarama, fundraise for them per lap, and do a 24-hour ice race.
Tamarama was the Peace Country's largest 24-hour live TV marathon, created to support Camp Tamarack, a wilderness camp founded in 1976 for children with disabilities. It's a place where every child can experience the freedom and adventure of the outdoors. Inspired by Tamarama, the riders decided to take on their own 24-hour challenge, all to raise money so every child can have the chance to create their own memories.
I didn't know what I was doing, so I figured, okay, well, you need a track. You need all the teams to sign up, and you have to get them out there getting pledges. We didn't cut the track until 7 o'clock in the morning, and the race was starting at 12 noon. And we took off.
Ralph mentioned to me one day that there was going to be an ice race down in Grande Prairie, and would I at all be interested in participating in something like that? So I bounced the idea off some of my students who are avid for anything that would get them away from the form of education for a while and a chance to kick up their heels. And so we put together this truly cobby little CB450 Honda ice racer out of kibbles and bits lying around the shop, and off we went to Grande Prairie.
And just like that, what started out as a dream of riding year-round, this group of motorcycle enthusiasts were able to pull off an event that became a fixation for many. 6 teams, fueled by sleep-deprived ambition, took on a challenge that was never done before and raised $7,600 for Camp Tamarack. In today's dollars, that's a cool $22,270.
And we learned a whole bunch. We learned we didn't know much about ice racing. We learned that it can be extremely cold in Northern Alberta, -40 isn't all that uncommon. And we learned that we definitely wanted to do this again and again and again. So Ralph, curse you for that, because it then became a fixation for quite a few years.
What other venue does stuff like that a person, anybody can enter in, as long as they're part of a team and they sign the waivers and pay the entry fee? Where are you going to race a motorcycle for 24 hours in the dead of winter in Canada?
There's no place. No place.
We all love bikes though. So
Yeah, exactly. It's the passion of bikes. It's a whole other experience.
If you like to go fast, this is a great way to do it, right?
you only live once, and it's the memories that count, not the things. So we wanted to do it together and make a memory as a team.
Dad get a chance to race with his boys. So the Numb Bum was a team where I got to run with them at the same time.
Learning how to fix things fast, do it efficiently, and also like I have kind of a need for speed.
Yeah, I don't know. The Numb Bum's always kind of called to me. My dad used to race in it, and always wanted to follow in his footsteps.
Yeah, I mean, we can't pass up having it in our hometown. We're all from Grande Prairie, so.
Yeah. Started a racing career at 40 years old. Yeah.
Why not?
Why not?
I decided after organizing the first race, I didn't want to organize the race anymore. I just wanted to race it. So I wasn't involved with Numb Bum after that. But the Goldwing Road Riders Association took it over, ran it till 1988, sent donations to Camp Tamarack. Thank God Bruce Barkley and the Fairview College stepped in.
It was during this time that the Numb Bum found a new stage, George Lake, just north of Fairview, Alberta, with a population of 1,900 at the time. Fairview was growing with the new motorcycle mechanic and Harley-Davidson programs, which inadvertently became involved. The race became a classroom where the students were crafting the future one bolt at a time.
We felt it was such a worthwhile event. It's a great event for the winter, it's a great event for our students, it's a great event for our college, and it's a great event for a worthwhile recipient to the proceeds. And so I talked to the folks at Fairview College on the management end, and they were all for it. They had an insurance company who would insure the event. We had the motorcycle programs running, which were high-profile programs and very well respected. And all of a sudden, we're in a situation, as time goes by, where we're having to cap it at roughly 30 teams maximum, because people love watching motorcycles on the ice due to the sheer novelty or stupidity, depending on your perspective of that activity.
The 2 weeks leading up to the race were very, very busy in the shop. Everybody was prepping and getting ready. We had the college team, plus we had students at a team. So we would build our own bike. Bruce was instrumental in it. He had built a Norton. He'd taken a XT600 Yamaha monoshock and put a 650 Norton engine in it. And we did that for a number of years. And the students we encouraged them to have their own team. This was their trial by fire. We wouldn't be in the pits with them. We'd be close if they needed help, but it was up to them to take care of it all. And then Harley had their own bike, of course.
The Harley students were in a friendly, mostly, rivalry with all the other students, and they decided amongst themselves that they would decide who is the better on the ice. And so the Harley students ended up taking and heavily modifying Harley-Davidson Sportsters and hitting the ice and acquitting themselves very well. And it introduced a very interesting of both competition and mutual respect amongst the students. And the Harley guys put on quite a show at Numb Bum. You could probably hear them a couple of townships away because there is no noise limits to be had. And to their credit, they've never, to the best of my recollection, DNF'd.
We rode a Harley 883 Sportster that had been bored out to 1200 cc's. We had 3 flats in the rear tire, which was extremely difficult to change. Busy little building for the 24 hours we were there. And it was about 35 below. The snow was blowing sideways across the track. It was pitch dark, of course. But it was really quite an experience doing those laps, in that cold of a temperature. I never thought I'd ever ride a motorcycle at minus 35, plus the wind chill. But it was good fun. Yeah, it's character building, right?
The biting wind chill intensifies with every mile per hour, turning the already freezing air into a relentless force. The faster you go, the colder it gets. 1992 was a milestone year for the Numb Bum, solidifying its legendary status with a world record for the coldest and longest motorcycle race. That same year, the one and only Evel Knievel made an appearance in Little Fairview, Alberta. Growing up, I couldn't help but wonder if this was fact or folklore. Finding photos of Evel Knievel at this event feels like searching for Bigfoot. They're elusive, but the legend lives on.
The coldest one was the year that Evel Knievel came, minus 48 in Fairview.
Evel Knievel was absolutely thrilled to show up. We flew him in on a hot air balloon using a taxation grant. The balloon came to a rather abrupt landing. It was wintertime, and while he pulled himself to his feet, Evel Knievel commented something to the effect of, "Well, I can't ride, but I can still crash."
With all his broken bones, his arthritis was so bad that that little BMW in the corner there was his ride for the weekend. So we studded it up and toured him around.
I got a phone call the day before the race. Any chance you could pick up Evel Knievel at Peace River Airport? And I went, yeah, I could fit that in. I raced in that race too, and he signed autographs. The poor guy was so cold. He's not used to that cold, but we did the best to keep him warm.
He came and had his picture taken with us for Team Harley, because of course he jumped Harley Davidsons through the majority of his career. And he was also propped up in a tent, again with a tiger torch, keeping him warm, signing photographs. So I've got a signed photograph. It just says "Happy Landings." That's one of his standard lines, but it's a good one.
He also basically showed up out of the goodness of his heart when he heard that it was being, the proceeds were being distributed to a worthwhile cause.
The event grew from a loose gathering of riders into a full-scale winter carnival, drawing in celebrities and prominent political figures. The community enjoyed ice skating, sleigh rides, fireworks, and frosty shenanigans, turning the race weekend into a true highlight of the winter months.
The community was so behind the entire event that it was you almost felt guilty if you couldn't find a way to expand it so that all these people that were giving so much could also get back so much. And by then, Numb Bum was such a vibrant undertaking that there was enough revenue generated that we could afford to spread it around a little bit. Numb Bum, for a number of years, raised quite a large amount of money. In the end, well into the 7 digits.
Fairview College directed race proceeds to multiple causes, with the biggest beneficiaries being adult literacy and the regional science fair. These efforts once again put Fairview on the map, helping local students bring home gold at the National Science Fair for the first time and making strides in improving literacy rates across Canada.
It would have been impossible to do it without the college support. It would have been impossible to do it without the community support and our service club support. It was very much an effort that dipped into all the resources that Little Fairview had to offer.
In 1999, the Numb Bum race met its untimely end. Or so everyone thought. But in 2000, a new group reignited the event, breathing new life into Sandy Beach. The race leveled up, transforming from a beloved community tradition into a fully CMA-sanctioned points race. This evolution attracted a fresh wave of competitors, including professional racers from around the globe.
I hear through the grapevine that Numb Bum's gonna be here, Sandy Beach. I live 5 kilometers away from here, so it was basically in my backyard. We entered Numb Bum, and we also did a 3rd place on our first Numb Bum here. Following year, they had the Dream Team coming, all those champions.
2001 attracted the Dream Team, bringing a new challenge for these legendary names in motorcycle racing and local competitors. In a historic first, a U.S. team clinched the top spot, beating out the Canadian teams by a razor-thin margin of just 4 seconds. This photo finish victory captured the essence of the Numb Bum, a race where the competition is fierce and anyone can seize the win.
Numb Bum's a real equalizer because things go wrong that you never planned for. I mean, it is something you could throw a lot of money at, or you can just show up with a beater bike that's been leaning against a tree for a while, you know. So it's guaranteed to no one.
And then the following year, they canceled the race about 20 days in advance. And on the 19th day, I went and reached PDRA and Jim Cooster and asked him if we could put the Numb Bum on. And it was the first Numb Bum that I got involved in. And it went really good, so we continued.
It took on its own life. So it's nice to see it still going. Because without him, it wouldn't have kept going too. So
I want to make sure that people have the right feeling when they come to Numb Bum. And the first thing I say at the meeting is, you turn around, find a stranger, shake hand, and you make a new friend. That's all. That's the most thing about Numb Bum, is making friendship.
Yeah, the camaraderie is quite high. When you're walking the pits and talking with everybody and just seeing how their race is going.
When you spend 24 hours and you battle the element like that, your pit next to you is not a competitor anymore. He's your friend, he's your neighbor. And it's a team effort thing. You can't win Numb Bum by yourself, so you gotta know how to work. You know, all the motorcycle race, the other motorcycle race are not team effort. They're individual, so you gotta put that aside. And it's not who makes the fastest lap that wins the race. It's the best team together.
I would say it probably takes a different type of person to be an ice racer. It's one thing to get on your bike and just go for a ride. But when you commit to a team that you're going to show up and do your event, whether it's cold, whether you have mechanical problems or anything else comes along, you just make it happen.
You learn a lot about teamwork and who will still be there at 3:45, you know.
Racers face extreme fatigue, impenetrable darkness, and an overwhelming sense of isolation. Mechanical wear and tear begin to take their toll, and the line between physical exhaustion and mental strain blurs. This is the mountain every competitor must climb, a true test of mettle and sheer determination. Conquering 3:45 a.m. is what separates participants from true contenders.
The biggest challenge is Mother Nature.
It seems like every year it does it, where Mother Nature, just throws a wrench into the whole operation.
Our Inuit apparently have over 100 words for ice because the texture can be so different. And no 2 years are the same. So you put on your wise guy hat and you go out and you make a pronouncement and hope you got it sort of right.
Actually, the race in 2017 was the worst conditions ever. I ended up buying rubber boots to wear.
I think I believe we called it the Slush Cup. Any racer will tell you Slush Cup was the hardest, toughest Numb Bum ever.
A good percentage of the track was flooded, and we just kept racing.
Night we had 6 to 8 inch of blizzard with snow falling sideways. We broke every single plow, but the old Chevy, which we call Lemmy, the oldest, ugliest truck, is the only one that survived.
Yeah. That was a triumph of determination and stubbornness over intelligence. As simple as that.
But that year, everybody was a winner. In my book, anybody that finished was a winner.
Numb Bum is definitely the toughest and longest in the world.
It's cold, it's hard. You don't do it because it's easy.
Oh yes, yeah. It's like I say, it's mentally and physically draining. Yeah, it's probably one of the hardest ones that I've ever done.
Age holds no boundaries in the Numb Bum. Competitors have ranged from 11 years old to those well into retirement, proving that the ice welcomes all who dare. With the next generation of racers stepping onto the track, I couldn't help but ask, what advice would you give to those just starting out?
Come with your dad. That's it.
So I think that any son who grows up with a father racing in Numb Bum feels a certain obligation to compete as well.
I've been seeing him leave every winter to go race Numb Bum since I was probably 4 or 5, and I've always wanted to go.
And that was the thing with the Numb Bum, was it's like, hey, we get to do this and push ourselves to our limits with our father. And it's that building and bonding experience that really, I think, brings people together.
What has drove me to participate in the Numb Bum has definitely been a reflection with my dad, Charlie.
Wanting to do it ever since I was little and hearing about it all the time. And I was finally old enough to be able to do it. So then, yeah.
It's good fun. It's a bit of a punishment, but I love motorcycles. I love riding motorcycles anywhere, anytime.
You know, I started them on a bike when they're pretty tiny.
And we've always rode together, you know, as a family.
Everything he's accomplished in his life, I just wanted to see if I had what it took to follow at least a little in his footsteps.
Probably want to win more than he did.
You always want to follow in your father's footsteps and you know, be as good or better.
And there is no experience beating when you're out there in the middle of the night and it's 30 below and you're watching your 13-year-old and your 15-year-old hammer laps hitting speeds of 120 kilometers an hour at 30 below, right? There is no experience like the Numb Bum. It's just unbelievable.
Once they got one Numb Bum under their belt, then it was just a given that you know, they'd carry on. It's a family event. There's no doubt about it.
Over the past 3 decades, the Numb Bum has endured thanks to a continuous passing of the torch. Each organizer has played their part, ensuring that every lap, every frozen mile, and every new generation keeps the flame alive. Now, a new chapter begins as a fresh organizer steps in to take the reins, bringing the race back home to Clairmont Lake. Armed with fresh ideas and an unwavering passion, they're ready to build on the legacy and maybe add a few new twists to the ice.
I got to know Dan Sharon over the years, and last year we set up a time, I think it was around midnight, and he came over to my motorhome and came in and asked me point blank, are you interested in taking over the Numb Bum?
They always kind of voiced that they would like to see Numb Bum back there, and it's where it was born at. And yeah, I was getting tired. I lost the spirit of it too, you know. The enthusiasm was not the same anymore. 20 years is a long time, right? So it wears you out.
I said, yeah, immediately. I said, yeah, we're definitely interested. I couldn't do it by myself, that I was going to need Wapiti. You know, I came home, had a meeting with everybody. I think it was 100%. Everybody went, yeah, let's bring it back to Grande Prairie.
It's looking at everything and making the best possibility for Numb Bum to survive and be prosperous for many years.
I think we all should thank Dan Sharon for his services over the years to put this race on. Thank God he did. Big cheer for Dan.
And I hope that spirit of yeehaw, let's just have fun, I hope that spirit carries on for a long time.
Even though I'm, raced it 17 times, there's still a lot of details that you need to know in order to make it happen. I know that not everybody can do it. I just feel that that it's my turn. It's ingrained in my DNA. I can tell you right now, your goal should be just to finish the race. Don't even think about trying to place anywhere.
If you can get your bike across the finish line, maybe it's 14 laps behind, but who cares? Because a lot of people don't finish.
But you could pat yourself on the back. When you've done the whole 24, you've got that bike over the finish line after 24 hours.
It's a great event. You ain't gonna get better fun than that. It's 24 hours of fun. And that's what counts. It's the fun you have.
So I'm not sure whether that means that the extremely cold air up here has caused some kind of cerebral damage, or whether the enriched oxygen in the cold air has caused us to be more clever than most. We'll leave that debate for wiser folks than us.
As the engines quiet and the ice begins to thaw, one thing remains certain. The legacy of the Numb Bum lives on, not in trophies, but in stories. And as long as there's ice and iron, the race will never truly end. Until next time.
You need to do the Numb Bum. You want that on your resume. It's the toughest race in the world.
Darkness on this freezing winter day. Tears well up in wind-touched eyes. Your face is burning, tape can stop the frostbite. To ride and slide, brave like lights. To take a chance on ice and iron. Ice and iron.